Look, in the sky. It's a plane.
It's a bird.
It's a frog.
A frog?
Not plane or bird or even frog. It's just little old me. Underdog.
Of his true love, Polly Purebred, and the citizens of Capital City whenever they were in danger. And it appears in this photo that he's trying super duper hard, and she's just laughing at him. So sad. Shoeshine Boy has remained one of the theme. Underdog has a good heart, but not always the best laid plans. When pressed, he would often say, "I am a hero who never fails. I cannot be bothered with such details." The show premiered on NBC in 1964 and aired on Saturday mornings before moving to CBS in 1996, because unfortunately its ratings were not that great in the beginning, but it did improve over time and has gained a high degree of popularity with fans. Now, let's watch the show's intro real quick. I honestly believe it's one of the best theme songs ever conceived by man, or dog for that matter. No offense to the creator. The show actually references the first appearance of Sweet Polly Purebred, who first appeared in March of the Monsters, where giant freaking robots run amok. Let's watch another quick intro from the show.
World, the headlines read of those whose hearts are filled with greed, and rob and steal from those who need to right this wrong with blinding speed goes Underdog, Underdog, Underdog.
As you can tell so far, the original theme is pretty amazing, and it includes an exploding phone booth, an obvious reference to Clark Kent turning into Superman. It also has Riff Raft, the gangster villain in the Underdog universe. This character is a reference to early Superman comics, which often had the Man of Steel battling low-level gangsters and crooks. This is a reference to back when, Supes couldn't really fly. He just leaped over tall buildings and battled low-level crooks and was obviously more powerful than Batman in terms of strength and power and so on, but wasn't flying around the entire universe fighting aliens and gods like he does today. Let's watch one last intro for the show. This title sequence has a monstrous giant attacking the city. Unlike the others, this has a menace worthy of Underdog's power as a bit of a Soup's canine clone.
Underdog, speed of lightning, roar of thunder, fighting all who rob or plunder.
Amazing. Each half-hour episode of Underdog typically featured 2 chapters of a 4-part Underdog story, which led to some disagreement among fans about how many episodes there really are. Either there's 62 or there's 124. They were interspersed with unrelated total television production shorts. The show was actually sponsored by cereal companies like General Mills. You probably already know that numerous cartoons have been created as advertising gimmicks. I know because I watched a lot of them in the 80s or 90s, 80s and 90s that were designed to push different types of toys. However, this one was not that successful in the beginning. It became more and more popular with fans as it received reruns on TV because, I was a kid in the 80s and I was still watching this cartoon all the time. This culminated in a live-action film in 2007, but nobody really liked it all that much. In my opinion, one big reason is the movie character doesn't act like the cartoon or have anything similar to the same voice. Sadly, it appeared to just be one more Hollywood cash grab based on existing IP. Oh my goodness, are we ever getting tired of that? However, it does have actors like Peter Dinklage from that one show that you've probably already heard of. One of my favorite shows ever. He's a hilarious guy. The protagonist Underdog had a dual identity as the humble, lovable Shoeshine Boy, when TV reporter Sweet Polly Purebred called Lionel Barrymore and Humphrey Bogart, as well as the wolfish crime boss Riff Raff, inspired by George Raft. Now for the real backstory. The original cartoon did not cover the true backstory of Underdog. Originally, his father was hit by a train. Then little Junior decides to take on the case and hunt down the evil dentist. In an ironic twist of fate, Junior tracks the villain to an abandoned mine shaft. This alludes to the fact that his father used to work in one, as I just said, like 10 seconds ago. But when Junior enters, the evil dentist blows up the entrance. Then he begins to pump the mine full of laughing gas, as dentists are known to do. In a freak accident, the explosions immediately turn the coals into diamonds. While laughing hysterically because of the gas, Junior's body is infused with superpowers. When Junior's mother learns of his accident, she makes Underdog promise to stay humble and always protect the underdogs of life. And he did. He continued to work as a shoeshine boy while saving underdogs wherever he was needed. However, the backstory in the cartoon seems a little bit different. In contrast to Superman, this need is articulated as, "Without my energy pill, I grow weaker and weaker and weaker still." It's worth noting that when the series was syndicated in the 1980s and 90s, scenes depicting Underdog taking his energy pill were omitted. The omission was met with criticism from animation enthusiasts who viewed it as an example of political correctness, which apparently was still happening in the 80s, but has not been as bad as it was in the 2010s and so on. Believing that the removal aimed to avoid any inadvertent glorification of drug use, fans tended to complain about it. Some of his other powers included in the show are X-ray vision, super breath, cosmic ray vision, atomic breath, ultrasonic hearing, and a great calculating brain, although they seem to vary from episode to episode. Now let's cover the main characters of the show. Underdog's romantic inclinations were aimed at a newspaper reporter named Sweet Polly Purebred, reminiscent of the dynamic between Clark Kent and Lois Lane. Sweet Polly Purebred, smitten with Underdog, remained oblivious to the fact that Underdog and Shoeshine Boy were one and the same. Underdog regularly found himself locked in battles against nefarious villains who frequently resorted to kidnapping Sweet Polly Purebred as bait to ensnare Underdog. In such frightening moments, Sweet Polly Purebred would melodically sing a mournful song, serving as a beacon to summon Underdog from wherever he might be on the planet, so he could come to her rescue. The refrain, oh where has my underdog gone? Oh where can he be?" became emblematic of her distress. Besides Underdog and Sweet Polly Purebred, here are a number of the other important characters. For instance, Simon Barr Sinister is one of his primary antagonists. He is a mad scientist with mad similarities to Lex Luthor, known for his diabolical schemes and plans to conquer the world. He often collaborates with various henchmen and is a recurring villain throughout the series. Next on the list is Riff Raff, another prominent villain in the series. He is a lupine crime boss inspired by gangster George Raft. Riff Raff and his gang frequently cause trouble in the city and become targets for Underdog's heroics. Next up is Cad Lackey, Simon Barr Sinister's loyal henchman. He often assists Simon's schemes and adds a comedic element to their villainous efforts. And lastly, the narrator, who provides commentary and introduces each episode with phrases like "meanwhile," "back at the secret Polly Purebred," and so on. His narration sets the stage for each adventure. And now for one of my favorite parts of the show, the catchphrases. Here are 3 from Underdog. "There's no need to fear, Underdog is here." "Where, oh where has my underdog gone?" And finally, "The secret compartment of my ring I fill with an Underdog super energy pill." And then there's Simon Bar Sinister, who frequently said things like Simon says. Next up is Go-Go Gophers, who would say things like oopie doopie, you genius. And Klondike Cat had a couple catchphrases like Klondike Cat always gets his mouse and oh, I'll make mincemeat out of that mouse. Major Minor, Klondike's superior, also says and sometimes gets his major. In response to the first catchphrase, whenever Klondike schemes to catch savoir-faire end up throttling him as well. Not to mention the said mouse constantly reminding us that savoir-faire is everywhere.
If savoir-faire gets any place near me, y'all make mincemeat out of that mouth. 1 dozen cream puffs, little Swiss baker. These cream puffs are for the governor.
Shush, Malamute. We must not let the Klondike Cat know we are here.
Imagine the major worrying about savoir-faire when I'm on the job. Oh, if that mouse comes around, I'll lock him up in irons. I'll hang him up by his heels. He'll never touch one of the governor's cream puffs.
Here you are, Klondike Cat. 12 beautiful cream puffs.
Now I've got to hurry back down the mountain to Fort Frazzle and What happened?
Savoir-faire is everywhere.
I'll make mincemeat out of you, mouse.
Poor Klondike Cat, he cannot move. Now, we and the cream puffs must be on our way. Mosh, Malamute, savoir-faire is everywhere.
I'll boil him in oil. I'll pound him to a pulp. I'll make mincemeat out of that mouse.
Unfortunately, there was a lot of controversy in the 80s and 90s, where the clips of Underdog taking the energy pill were edited out, likely due to concerns of giving kids a bad impression. Some ridiculous people even argued that the red pill represented the drug PCP, which is just preposterous. But the assumption is probably a product of its time. If the cartoon came out in this century, people would probably be making references to the Matrix and its red versus blue pill shenanigans. Personally, I think they would have been smarter or better off to make an Underdog multivitamin that's red and sell it to people. They could advertise it around the idea Underdog multivitamins make kids stronger. And hey, it's a vitamin, so it might not even be false advertising. Sadly, the show has gotten some criticism for its portrayal of different groups of people as well. However, after watching it recently, I didn't find it all that bad. They could put a warning about cartoon depictions up front if they wanted. I just don't want them editing anything out. Tell me what you think in the comments. A couple of other potential controversies include the confusion between this cartoon and a far more graphic manga that has the same name, but the two have absolutely nothing in common. And lastly, the show's theme song has reached far beyond its original airing as it was sampled by the Wu-Tang Clan in their track Wu-Tang Clan Ain't Nothing to F With. This was part of a trend in the 90s where various acts reimagined classic cartoon themes. Additionally, segments of the Underdog theme song made their way into Wheels, an Apple Macintosh game designed for children with disabilities. Next up is the Macy's Day Parade. Underdog left a lasting legacy, even inspiring a beloved Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade balloon, a tradition that continues to this day, as showcased even in a commercial made 35 years after the balloon's debut. Underdog is one of the most requested characters to come back in the parade. He has made several media appearances and cameos, including appearing on the cover of The New Yorker and TV Magazine. Now for a few trivia or factoids about the show. Although this was briefly mentioned earlier, in the 90s there was an attempt to re-release Underdog in syndication. However, due to concerns about the drug culture of the time, all references to the secret energy pill were removed, Without these references, the cartoons lost coherence and were quickly withdrawn. Ironically, the pills were initially added to encourage children to take their vitamins. As I mentioned earlier, that should have been the marketing scheme. Come on, guys. What were you thinking? Number 2. In the episode, Simon says, "No Thanksgiving." Underdog breaks from his usual rhyming pattern and says, "Not plane, nor bird, nor even frog. It's not even little old me, Underdog. It's a balloon." This marks a unique departure from his typical rhyming speech. The lyrics of Underdog's theme song closely match the meter of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem Excelsior. As a result, you can sing the words of the poem to the theme song, and I recommend you try it, and then make a clip and share it so we can all laugh at it. Number 4. Underdog's love interest, Sweet Polly Purebred, was based on the iconic actress Marilyn Monroe. And honestly, what isn't? So many things are based on Monroe. Number 5. When the series was introduced in Japan in 1967, it was named Uratora Wan-chan, which I totally pronounced correctly. It also happened to mean Ultra Puppy, due to the immense popularity of Ultraman and Ultra 7 at the time. The name Ultra cleverly corresponded with the U on Underdog's chest. I mean, that last part is not really surprising. Number 6. According to George S. Irving, the voice actor for the narrator and numerous other characters, all the actors, including Wally Cox as Underdog, recorded their lines in New York. However, Norma Macmillan, who voiced Sweet Polly Purebred, recorded her lines in Los Angeles. Number 7. When Cartoon Network acquired broadcasting rights to Underdog in the 1990s, they withheld 3 4-part segments due to insensitive themes. Simon Says No Thanksgiving was skipped for containing ethnic stereotypes of Native Americans. The Mole Men was skipped for a storyline involving Underdog contaminating the water supply with his energy pills, and a new villain was skipped due to the resurrection of Underdog using electricity underwater. I guess apparently that's not possible. Boomerang later acquired the rights in 2002, and while some Season 3 4-part segments were initially skipped until 2005, they eventually aired, including Simon Says No Thanksgiving and The Mole Men, but a new villain remained excluded. Number 8. The book How Underdog Was Born by W. Watts Biggers and Chad Strover reveals that Wally Cox's performance in the 1963 movie Spencer's Mountain inspired them to ask him to voice their newly created character, Underdog. Now for our last couple general trivia points. Number 9, a stylized board game was created based on the cartoons as seen in the July 1965 issue of The Golden Magazine. Number 10, the title card copyright indicates 1962, possibly when the cartoons were produced 2 years before airing. Now while I sip on this mango-flavored Rockstar energy drink, let's discuss the differing segments within the show. Number 1 is the World of Commander McBrag. Set in a gentleman's club, Commander McBrag recounts stories based on different locations on a globe to a disinterested colleague. Regardless of said colleague's indifference, McBrag proceeds with his tales, narrating daring exploits where he cleverly overcomes perilous situations. At the end of each story, the colleague delivers a light-hearted pun, prompting McBrag's signature response, "Quite." A couple trivia related to these episodes. They typically end with various comedic scenarios, including a snake charmer or a plumber encountering McBrag unexpectedly. The series segments also feature a consistent closing sequence with McBrag emerging from unexpected places. Next on the list is Tennessee Tuxedo and His Tales. The show revolves around Tennessee Tuxedo, a penguin living in Megapolis Zoo, and his less intelligent walrus friend Chumley, which sounds a little bit like my nickname back in the day when we used to go fishing, and my family nicknamed me Chum, but please don't tell anybody about that. The episodes often depict Tennessee's dissatisfaction with zoo life, prompting escapades where they undertake various professions. Seeking solutions, they turn to the knowledgeable Mr. Whoopi for guidance, who educates them using his 3D blackboard. Despite their determination, most episodes culminate in comical failures. A couple trivia points related to the show. Tennessee Tuxedo is one of the few TTV productions to be rebooted decades after cancellation, featuring voice talents Chris Phillips and Rob Pruitt. The series also debuted on the last day of King Leonardo and his short subjects on NBC. Next on the list is the Sing-Along Family. The shorts, resembling bouncing ball sing-along cartoons, showcase a musical family engaging in various activities that often led to comical mishaps. The characters never speak, as all vocals are provided by Buck Biggers. Each segment includes sing-along lyrics displayed at the bottom of the screen. Some trivia related to this show include the origins of the cartoons remain uncertain, with different sources proposing various production years. Although 13 more cartoons were reportedly planned, the actual number produced remains ambiguous. Next up is Klondike Kat. The cat and mouse cartoon unfolds in the Klondike, Canada region, where Klondike Kat, a Mountie, works under his superior, Major Minor. The notorious savoir-faire, a French-Canadian mouse, continuously disrupts the region, often aided by his dog companion Malamut. Despite Klondike Kat's efforts, savoir-faire typically outmaneuvers him, leading to comedic outcomes. A bit of trivia: while Klondike Kat usually fails to catch savoir-faire, a few episodes such as The Big Race and Date on the Desert showcase Klondike Kat's victory and conquering of his mighty foe. Okay, not really, but that's alright. I think we want savoir-faire to win in the end. Next up is King Leonardo and his short subjects. The series centers around King Leonardo, the ruler of Bongo Congo, and his loyal skunk assistant, Odie O. Cologne. They consistently face off against antagonists Biggie Rat and Itchy Brother, who plot to overthrow the king but are repeatedly foiled. Interestingly, Producers Associates for Television, TTV's co-producers, later adopted the name Leonardo Productions, obviously because they were quite proud of this amazing cartoon. The show was featured in an 8-issue comic book produced by Dell Comics and Gold Key.
Coming, sire, coming!
After dragging King Leonardo from the moat night after night, Odie Cologne had finally tried bolting the king's bedroom doors from the outside. But that night, King Leonardo had simply walked through the door, down the royal stairs, and out into the night to promptly fall into the royal moat.
Help! Help! Coming, sire, coming!
There seemed to be nothing which could be done to halt the king's nightly march to the moat.
Next up is The Hunter. Although The Hunter originally aired in 1960, along with King Leonardo and his short subjects, it later re-aired with Tennessee Tuxedo and His Tales in 1963, and then again with Underdog a few years later on NBC. As we can see, a lot of these shows tend to be repackaged and reconstituted in later series, especially with Underdog because it was one of the most popular cartoons for this particular production company. But for The Hunter, in every animated episode, the main character, Hunter, is portrayed as a clever canine detective with a trademark catchphrase. Heaven knows Will Hunt. This catchphrase frequently prompts a call for his assistance, primarily from his reliable ally, Officer Flim Flanagan, whenever a criminal incident occurs in the bustling New York City backdrop. Their criminal acts can range from petty thefts of cutlery to audacious heists of iconic landmarks, all orchestrated by none other than the cunning mastermind, the Fox. It consistently falls upon Hunter to crack the case and apprehend the elusive Fox. In most cases, the Fox's capture is achieved through Hunter's extraordinary strokes of luck. Bam! I nailed that one. The early episodes of the series were marked by a distinct use of onomatopoeia, which means to use words that are named after their sounds. Swish! I nailed that one. Now please don't rustle my jimmies. The cartoon also featured lead-in bumpers featuring the catchy lyrics, we're calling, the hunter. A mighty sleuth is he, we're calling, the hunter. Where can the hunter be? These lyrics were directly inspired by the Stolen Spoon saga. In certain episodes, especially those in later seasons, there's a notable shift toward incorporating elements from classic fairy tales. Last on the segments list is Tutor Turtle. In each episode, Tutor Turtle seeks guidance from Mr. Wizard the Lizard to transform into various roles, such as an astronaut or warfighter. However, these endeavors invariably lead to disaster, prompting Tutor to call for help and reassess his desires. The series did not return with new cartoons after the end of King Leonardo and his short subjects, apart from being rerun alongside other shows like, of course, the one we've been talking about all day, Underdog. In a world filled with Cape Crusaders and larger-than-life heroes, Underdog stands out as a humble reminder that we have a snowball's chance in heck of actually saving the world ourselves. But sometimes, the most unassuming champions can steal the spotlight, including you, dear viewer. With his shoeshine kit in one paw and his cape in the other, this lovable pooch showed us that you don't need flashy gadgets or superhuman abilities to make a difference. So as we bid farewell to this far-out animated gem from the 60s, remember that there's a little underdog in all of us. The hidden strength waiting to break free and save the day when we least expect it. Share your favorite Underdog memories below, and let's keep the spirit of the ultimate underdog alive.